Ben 10 got shot not in some random street altercation. This was connected to a beef so deep it involves one of the most powerful men in Houston rap history and one of the most untouchable names in the streets right now. J Prince versus NBA Youngboy. And what most people don't know is that J Prince's own son is the reason Ben 10 took those bullets. We're breaking down the full timeline. The robbery, the clout accusations, the banned order, and how this whole thing is escalating into something that could get a lot more people hurt. Y'all need to hear this. Before we get into the smoke, let's make sure everybody in the room understands who J Prince actually is. Because if you're sleeping on his resume, you don't understand why this beef hitting different than your average rap industry drama. James Prince, the real name for the people in the back, is the founder of Rap Hot Records. He built that label from the ground up in Houston, Texas back in 1986. Let me put that in perspective for you. When Houston rap was a punchline to the rest of the country, J Prince was already building an empire. Ghetto Boys, Scarface, UGK got distribution through him. He has his fingerprints on the foundation of Southern hip-hop in a way that very few people can claim. But here's the thing about J Prince that goes beyond the music business. The man is connected in ways that the industry doesn't even talk about publicly. When Tekashi 69 was getting extorted, it was J Prince's name that came up in those conversations as someone who could make problems go away. When Drake and Meek Mill had beef escalating into something dangerous, J Prince stepped in and mediated. There are stories about J Prince walking into situations where federal agents couldn't tread and coming out with results. In Houston, this man is not just respected, he's revered. His word carries weight that goes beyond contracts and publishing deals. When J Prince says you're welcome somewhere, doors open. And when J Prince says you're not welcome, that's a different conversation entirely. So when we start talking about NBA Youngboy, a 20-some-year-old from Baton Rouge who's the biggest independent artist in the game right now, and J Prince on the same timeline, that's not just beef between two people. That's a collision between two different worlds of power. Now, let me give you the Youngboy side of this, because you need to understand who J Prince is actually dealing with here. And gang, this ain't your average rapper we're talking about. Kentrellin, NBA Youngboy, came up in Baton Rouge the hard way. No cap. The man was literally incarcerated as a teenager. And when he got out, he was putting out music at a rate that didn't make sense. Songs, mixtapes, collaborations. The frequency was insane and the streets ate it up because it was authentic. It sounded like somebody who'd actually lived what he was rapping about because he had. What makes Youngboy different from most artists in his position is that he operates on a completely different axis than the traditional industry. He doesn't need radio. He doesn't need a major label cosign. He built his fan base, the Never Broke Again soldiers, into a movement that generates streaming numbers that embarrass artists with 10 times the budget. We're talking about the most streamed artist on YouTube multiple years running. That's not an accident. That's a real connection with real people. But here's what makes the Youngboy situation complicated when it comes to beef. The man is fiercely loyal and fiercely territorial about his integrity. If Youngboy feels like somebody is moving on him sideways, whether it's industry politics, fake love, or clout chasing, he responds every time on wax, on social media, or through the people moves with Youngboy or in connection to his world. And Ben 10 got shot. But here's what really happened, and this is the part that needs to be broken down properly because the connection to J Prince's family changes everything about how we understand this beef. J Prince has a son, and his son was involved in a situation that created the chain of events that led to Ben 10 taking those shots. Here's what went down. J Prince's son was the one who sent Youngboy's brother, we're talking about somebody in Youngboy's bloodline, to go fight. A fight was organized or instigated, and the setup involved Youngboy's brother being sent into a confrontation that J Prince's son had a hand in arranging. The fight happens, and what comes after the fight is that Ben 10 gets shot. Now connect those dots. J Prince's son is setting up fights involving people in Youngboy's camp and family. And people connected to Youngboy are ending up shot as a consequence. This is not a coincidence that the streets are willing to overlook. This is seen as direct aggression. This is J Prince's bloodline moving against Youngboy's bloodline and someone getting shot in the process. That's not beef anymore. That's war language. Think about what this means from Youngboy's perspective. You're already tight with J Prince because you felt disrespected over the 2020 robbery situation. You already feel like he was using your misfortune to position himself. And now his son is out here setting up situations that result in your people getting shot. That's confirmation for Youngboy of everything he already believed about where J Prince stood. And here's the thing about Youngboy that people don't fully appreciate. He takes loyalty and disloyalty with extreme seriousness. This man has songs, multiple songs about betrayal, about people moving wrong, about consequences for those who violate. It's not just rap performance. It's documentation of how he actually moves in the world. So Ben 10 getting shot in the context of J Prince's son being involved in the setup. In Youngboy's world, that requires a response. The question is what form that response takes. Now, let's be clear about what we know and what we don't. The official narratives around Ben 10's shooting are not fully public in terms of charges, convictions, or confirmed attributions. But the streets have been talking, the connections have been drawn, and the timing and the circumstances point directly to the escalating tension between these two camps. This ain't random. Nobody in either camp is pretending it's random. Now, here's where people started connecting the dots and realizing that the J Prince versus Youngboy situation is operating on multiple levels simultaneously. This isn't just about a chain, a public post, and a fight that went wrong. There are layers to this that go back to fundamental questions about power, territory, and who controls what in the rap game. Let's talk about territory first. J Prince built his influence in Houston over 4 decades. He is the architect of the city's position in hip-hop. When you talk about Houston rap, the culture, the sound, the business infrastructure, J Prince's fingerprints are everywhere. That city is in a very real census domain in the way that few cities can claim to belong to any single figure in rap history. Youngboy being from Baton Rouge is not bowing to anybody's territorial claims. That's not how he operates. He's the type of artist who moves where he wants to move, builds what he builds, and doesn't ask permission. But in doing that, in coming through Houston, and then publicly through his silence, and later through his associates' words signaling that he doesn't respect J Prince's position, he's essentially challenged that territorial authority. And J Prince is not the type to let that slide without response either. So, you have two personalities who are both essentially immovable objects meeting each other. Neither one is built for backing down. But here's the real tea about why this particular beef is concerning people on a much deeper level than your average rap drama. J Prince's connections go into places that most people don't want to publicly acknowledge. His relationship with law enforcement, with legal structures, with people of influence in Texas and beyond. That's a different kind of power than what most rap beef involves. Most beef is between artists or between street organizations. This is beef between an artist and someone who moves in corridors of power that are partially invisible. And on Youngboy's side, the Never Broke Again movement is not just a music label. It's a network of people who are intensely loyal to Youngboy personally. People who have demonstrated that loyalty in ways that go beyond streaming his music. He has built genuine real-world allegiance that makes any move against him or his people a move against a much larger body. So, when you put those two power structures in conflict, J. Prince's institutional connected power versus Youngboy's grassroots street-level loyalty. You've got a collision that isn't going to resolve itself easily because neither side has an obvious weak point that the other can exploit without serious consequence. The clout-chasing accusation also tells you something important about Youngboy's psychology in this situation. That wasn't just an insult he threw out casually. That was a diagnosis of what he believed J. Prince's motivation was. He believed, and apparently still believes, that J. Prince saw an opportunity to use Youngboy's name to elevate his own relevance with a younger generation. That might not be fully aware of Rap-A-Lot's history, like J. Prince needed the association more than Youngboy did. Whether that's accurate or not is almost beside the point. What matters is that Youngboy believes it. And when Youngboy believes something about somebody's character, it locks in. He doesn't give people the benefit of the doubt on those calls. Now let's get into the band from Houston piece, because this is where J. Prince's institutional power makes itself felt in a very tangible way. And this is the detail that separates this beef from your standard rap industry drama. Assessment has some validity to it because people in Youngboy's orbit are paying for this position with real consequences. Let's zoom out for a second, because this beef between J. Prince and Youngboy is actually a mirror of a much bigger conversation happening in hip-hop right now about who holds power and how that power is exercised. J. Prince represents a generation of executives and power brokers who built the industry through personal relationships, street credibility, and institutional connections. The Rap 80 model, control your masters, control your city, build relationships that extend beyond the music business, was revolutionary when he invented it, and it still works. But it's a model built on a certain kind of hierarchy, a respect structure where younger people acknowledge the power of those who came before. Youngboy represents something completely different. He's the poster child for the artist who bypasses every traditional power structure. No major label needed, no radio gatekeeper needed, no industry veteran cosign needed. He built his empire on direct-to-fan distribution and authentic street credibility. And he got there without bowing to anybody. When those two models meet, and they were always going to meet eventually, the collision is about more than just this specific beef. It's about whether the old hierarchy still has the power to enforce itself. Can J. Prince actually make Youngboy's life difficult enough that it changes how Youngboy moves? Or has Youngboy built such an independent infrastructure that traditional power moves don't land the same way? The answer seems to be somewhere complicated in the middle. J. Prince can absolutely make Houston a problem for Youngboy. He can affect venues, create street pressure, and the Ben 10 situation shows that people in Youngboy's world are being affected in the worst way possible. Those are real consequences. But Youngboy from Utah is still the most streamed artist in the game. The band doesn't stop his music from reaching his fans. It doesn't stop the money. It doesn't stop the movement. The reach that J. Prince has is geographically and institutionally bound in ways that Youngboy's influence is not. And that asymmetry is actually what makes this beef so dangerous, because J. Prince can hurt Youngboy's people. But he can't fully stop Youngboy. And Youngboy's response to people being hurt in his world is always to escalate, not to negotiate. So, the cycle has no obvious exit. So, where does this leave us right now, gang? Because this is not a resolved situation. This is an ongoing, active, dangerous beef with real casualties already on the board. Ben 10 got shot. That's a fact that's sitting in the middle of this situation like a stone that nobody can pretend isn't there. Someone in Youngboy's circle got shot in a situation connected through J. Prince's son's involvement to this beef. That doesn't go away. That doesn't get smoothed over with a phone call or a handshake. In Youngboy's world, when your people get hurt, that's a permanent mark. That's something that gets referenced in lyrics, in conversations, in the way loyalty gets evaluated going forward. He's the type of artist who keeps receipts, not just metaphorically, but literally through his music, which has always been his most honest form of communication. J. Prince, for his part, has maintained a certain kind of public posture about all of this. He's not the type to go on Instagram Live and have a screaming match. He's been doing this for 40 years, and he understands that the real moves happen away from the cameras. But his son's involvement in the situation that led to Ben 10 getting shot means that his family is now directly entangled in this. Not just his business reputation, not just his Houston influence, his bloodline. And that changes the calculus for J. Prince too. Because when your son is making moves that escalate a beef and result in people getting shot, you're either defending that or you're addressing it internally. And J. Prince defending his son's actions, even implicitly, through his silence, means he's co-signing an escalation that he may not be able to pull back from easily. The Houston music scene itself is watching this nervously because J. Prince's influence has always been a protective umbrella over Houston rap in a certain sense. His relationships have kept certain problems at bay. But a prolonged public violent beef with someone of Youngboy's stature and Youngboy's reach drags Houston into a conflict that extends far beyond city limits. Youngboy has fans and affiliated people all over the country. People who take his beefs personally. There are also the business implications. Youngboy's fan base, active, aggressive in their support, and deeply loyal, has already been making noise about this situation online. The streams, the comments, the way NBA Youngboy's people move on social media. It's an organized force. J. Prince's institutional power doesn't necessarily translate into that kind of digital mobilization. Here's what this whole situation really comes down to at the core level. This is about two completely different definitions of power colliding in real time. J. Prince's power is vertical. It's built on hierarchy, on institutional relationships, on being the man that other powerful men know and respect. His influence flows from the top down, the connections he has to people with resources, legal authority, and street organization. That's a specific kind of power that has ruled certain parts of the rap game for decades. Youngboy's power is horizontal. It's built on mass. The sheer number of real people across the country who genuinely ride for him. Not because they've been organized to, not because they're being paid to, but because they authentically connect with his music and his story. That kind of power doesn't have a headquarters you can pressure. It doesn't have a phone number you can call to make it stop. When vertical power tries to press down on horizontal power, what usually happens is that the horizontal power spreads wider. The pressure doesn't eliminate it, it broadcasts it. Every move J. Prince makes that can be interpreted as aggression against Youngboy becomes content for Youngboy's supporters to rally around the banned from Houston narrative. The robbery, the public post about the jewelry, all of it has become fuel. And when horizontal power tries to directly challenge vertical power, when Youngboy's camp makes moves in Houston that are read as disrespectful to J. Prince's authority, the vertical power deploys consequences that the horizontal power can't fully absorb. Ben 10 getting shot. Situations that are personal, immediate, and painful in a way that streaming numbers don't protect against. So, you've got two powers that can each hurt the other, but neither can fully destroy the other. And in that kind of stalemate, the question becomes, who's willing to absorb more damage? Youngboy's entire brand is built on being unbothered, on taking loss and turning it into fuel, on being the one who doesn't need your city's permission, doesn't need your cosign, doesn't need your blessing. His entire positioning in the culture is predicated on showing that no external force can break him. If he backs down from J. Prince, if he tries to negotiate, make peace, acknowledge J. Prince's power, he undermines the entire mythology that his career is built on. J. Prince, on the other hand, has spent 40 years building a reputation as someone whose authority is not challenged without consequence. If Youngboy moves through this whole situation and comes out the other side with his independence intact and his music still dominating, if the banning doesn't stick, if the pressure doesn't register, then that's a statement about the limits of J. Prince's reach that other artists and executives are going to notice. Neither one of them can afford to lose this. And that's exactly why it keeps escalating. Y'all need to understand something. This situation is bigger than rap beef. This is bigger than a chain or a post or two powerful people having their egos bruised. Ben 10 got shot. That's real life. That's somebody's health, somebody's safety, somebody's future. The pattern in this situation, the robbery, the public response, the clout accusation, the escalation through J. Prince's son, the fight involving Youngboy's brother, the shooting is a classic sequence of how these things spiral out of control. Each step feels like a proportional response to the last one. Each side feels justified, and the people at the center of the actual power, J Prince, Youngboy, are still standing while people adjacent to them are catching the real smoke. That's always how it goes, fam. The generals don't take the bullets, the soldiers do. Real recognize real. And what I recognize in this situation is two men who are both legitimate in their own right, both with real legacies, both with real power, and who could theoretically coexist in the culture because there's enough room. But pride, positioning, and the politics of respect have turned a jewelry situation into something that's gotten people shot. The question the culture needs to be asking is not who's right and who's wrong. The question is, when does somebody with enough influence on either side decide that this particular war isn't worth the casualties? Because if history tells us anything about beefs at this level, when you've got this much pride, this much money, this much real-world consequence wrapped up in it, the answer to that question usually comes too late. Drop in the comments, who do you think moves wrong first in this situation? Was Youngboy right to read J Prince's public post as clout chasing, or was J Prince genuinely trying to help and got no credit? And do you think this thing ever gets resolved, or is Houston permanently closed to Youngboy? I'll be back with more. Stay up, gang.